Welcome everyone to today's session. This session is on senior living in India. Uh, the session is being presented as part of the Desi Daughters webinar series. Desi Daughters is a community-powered platform which offers resources and support to empower sons and daughters who are navigating this phase of life of having aging elders. Figuring out what's the right decisions for yourself, for your family, and even as you're planning ahead for yourselves as well. So you can learn more about Desi Daughters at our website, desidaughters.com. I'm the founder, Selena Shaw, for those of you who I have not met. Also, I want to introduce, we have Sharad and Cradle of Life on the webinar as well. We are fortunate to have them here. They are sponsors of this webinar series. Today is the first in the series on senior living, and then we will have another session on Friday, January 16th in the series to talk about senior living in India. And most importantly, our guest expert, we have Dr. Murali, who I'm super excited to have on with us and have here to present with us. So Dr. Murali is a top professional in senior living and the senior care industry in India. He has over 20 years of experience in this field. He's also the founder of Jeevan Consulting, which is a leading consulting firm in India that consults in both active living as well as assisted living. He's contributed to establishing over 20 senior living communities across India, and has basically those communities have helped over 2,000 happy elderly families find the right place for them. So, welcome to Dr. Murali.
Thank you, Serena. Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. All right, so we'll get started with a few questions. So just to set some context and background. So I know many of us, many of our members have heard terminology like senior living, assisted living, memory care. To start, do you want to clarify what the terminology means and what some of the differences are?
Sure. Senior living is a general terminology which is used for any kind of living options for elderly people. But often, senior living is a term which is used for living options for elderly who are 60 plus or 55 plus for that matter. But those are physically active and cognitively active. In other words, to say people who are able to take care of themselves without any assistance. So they live in a community setup, so which is called as senior living. And assisted living is a facility for seniors, probably who require some sort of assistance or care for their activities of daily living. So when we say activities of daily living, typically bathing, toileting, moving around, food, feeding, medication management. So typically we call them as activities of daily living. So if a senior requires support for any of these, the facilities which look after seniors with those requirements are called as assisted living. And then there is memory care, which is especially for seniors who are having cognitive disorders, cognitive challenges, memory related issues, in other words to say. So for them, it requires a separate attention and separate expertise to look after such people, because they would have, they may be physically fit, but they would have cognitive challenges, which can, be visible in terms of behavioral problems and requirements, etc. So there is a separate set of expertise which is required to look after people with cognitive impairments. So such facilities are called as, memory care facilities. Yeah. So there are few communities which are available across the globe, even in India, with all these facilities under one campus. So that is such facilities are called as continuing care retirement communities, or CCRC. Yeah. So these are the basic terms which are used in senior living communities.
Yeah. Thank you. And it sounds like India has come a long way back from the days where it was just, an old age home, in India. So, can you talk a little bit about the evolution in senior living in India, in terms of like how it's changed in the past 2 decades?
Yeah, definitely. So when I mean, going back about 20, 25 years back, at that point of time, there was no senior living in India. It was typically assisted living, sorry, old age homes. Old age homes are typical facilities which are either run by charity organizations or, which are aided or supported by the government. Um, so these facilities are not evolved or planned facilities. So old age homes typically are opted by, or I don't say opted, those are the facilities for such seniors who don't have any other option. They don't have children to look after them. They don't have resources to look after themselves. So for such people, the charity-based organizations set up typical centers. These are called as old age homes. So these were very prevalent in India, long back. Even today, such facilities are available. Having said that, senior living is an entirely different setup where there is a lot of focus on amenities, services, resident engagement, safety, wellness, and health. So, from a very basic facility to a evolved facility, India has seen this growth. I mean, this happened over a period of time, did not happen overnight. When we started facilities in India, the developers or the service providers, they started to learn what are the requirements, cultural requirements, cultural sensitivity, location sensitivity. So understanding all this, senior living communities evolved over a period of time in India. So nowadays, you will find most of the senior living communities in India highly evolved, comparable very much with the global standards, I would say, with the world-class amenities, world-class services, resident engagement, as well as safety, I would say. Yeah.
Um, so as the options have evolved, have the senior sort of expectations evolved as well? Like, compared to a decade ago, what do today's, seniors think about these living?
That's an interesting question. In fact, you know, and looking back 20 years back when I associated myself with senior living industry, I saw a lot of seniors moving into senior living facilities out of compulsion. So they had no other option, so they used to move into senior living facilities because of that. But nowadays, the biggest change what I'm seeing is people are opting to live in senior living communities. Precisely for these reasons, one, safety and security, independence, and to have their own space and probably the lifestyle. So usually senior living communities come with a lot of lifestyle upgrade. During working days, seniors would not have time and what we say possibility to rekindle or engage in those kind of activities which they find meaningful other than work. Senior living communities offer that. So nowadays, seniors are very choosy and they know what they want and they choose communities as per their requirement.
That's great to hear. Most of the community that we work with in Desi Daughters are based in the US. And so, I think one of the questions that comes up is just wanting to know more about how does the Indian model also compare to the West? So in terms of cost, in terms of care standards, lifestyle, how what would you say in terms of kind of comparing the two, and are there areas that India still needs to sort of, has room to improve on?
Yeah. Let's have this kind of comparison. Let's start with the amenities, facilities, and the overall setup. So I would say the modern senior living communities in India are very much comparable with the standards of the West. Probably some of the communities may be even better than the Western senior living communities. And second part, services are also very much comparable with the standards of the West. The difference, I would say, um, the biggest difference to me is the human angle, which is very strong in India. Probably that's the reason why Desi daughters, are joining this webinar. So the human angle part is very strong in India, whether you live in India or abroad. That angle doesn't fade away. So the care part, which is stronger in India, the areas where probably it can be better is standardization. So there is no standardization of senior living or senior care in India. However, a lot of operators have their own, I mean, they have developed their own standardization. And so which takes care of it to a certain extent. And also there are no government regulations for senior living. Having said that, of late, Government of India has come up with some guidelines for senior living communities. Some of the states also have come up with some guidelines and some mandatory requirements for senior living communities. So it's slowly, I mean, the standardization part or the SOP part is slowly evolving, whereas the real estate part or the amenity facilities part has already evolved to world-class standards. The care part probably is a notch ahead of what it is in the West, I would say. So, I mean, compared to Western senior living communities, it's a lot more cheaper and lot more affordable it is in India. I have seen, um, uh, you know, people using their retirement community to come back to India to live in a retirement community in India. It works much cheaper for them. So it's a very interesting comparison between the Western senior living communities and the Indian communities.
So there's a question in the chat that's related. Can you speak to what the typical monthly costs are for senior living in across all three phases? So active senior living, assisted living, and memory care?
Yeah. So before answering this, I would like to slightly tell how the difference, I mean, the difference in costing structure in the West and in India.
Yeah.
Typically, the senior living in the West is more of a membership model or a long-term lease or right to live model, where a person enters a senior living community with a membership. Okay, so whereas in India, majority of the senior living communities are on purchase model. You buy an apartment and then you pay for services. So the difference is slightly different. Whereas in India, when it comes to assisted living and memory care, these facilities are on rental model. So looking at the costing, uh, if you own the apartment, probably the monthly costs, depending upon the amount of services which you opt for, usually they would offer a bouquet of services. You can opt for the basic, you can add on additional services to it. So based on your requirement, probably it would range anywhere between 20,000 rupees a month, Indian rupees, to almost about 2 lakh rupees a month, depending upon the type of community you choose. So we have, low budget senior living communities, premium senior living communities, and luxury senior living communities. So based on the kind of luxury you choose, the service cost also would differ, as well as the amount of services which you opt for. The cost of monthly outgo also will be different. When it comes to assisted living, as I was mentioning, it is purely on rental basis, and that would be somewhere in the range of, say, 50,000 Indian rupees to almost 2 to 2.5 lakh rupees, in Indian rupees. So again, depending upon the luxury, depending upon the kind of care which you opt for. So they also come with various levels of cares. So memory care also would would be anywhere between 80,000 Indian rupees to almost to 2 lakh rupees, depending upon the facility which you choose. So that's the basic range, I would say. Yeah.
And if you're buying it, is it easy to sell later on? Sorry, there's another question in the chat about just how easy it is to sell, especially if there are, newer, better facilities available later, then is that
Uh,
something that will do?
yeah. So that's an interesting question. Um, uh, see, resell requirement would happen only if you want to move out of the community, or if you don't want the facility anymore. So say suppose your parents, you bought the apartment for your parents, or somebody passes away. So only during that case people think of leaving the community. Otherwise, usually the community bond within senior living communities in India is so strong that people would not like to leave that community. So that is one very strong aspect in Indian senior living communities. Resell of the senior living apartment is not very difficult, because good senior living communities, established senior living communities, would have a wait list to resell the apartments. Of course, some of the senior living communities also offer that as a service. If you want to resell your apartment, if you want to rent out your apartment, they support you in that. So that's the possibility in India.
Mhm. And one clarifying question, when you were talking about the range going up to 2 lakhs, that was per month, right? Based on the types of amenities that you're
That's true.
facility. Okay. Um,
That's true. And also the luxury.
right.
So if I mean, you can go with basic senior living community. You can go with a premium or a luxury, super luxury. So depending upon that kind of ambience of the overall ambience of the property, the
Mhm.
costing be different.
Okay. There's a couple more questions, but I'll just table them for a little bit later. So So that was a lot on cost and amenities, healthcare. So healthcare is like a huge concern, right? For people who are in the West who are trying to decide what to do. And a lot of it comes from just lack of awareness of like just not knowing what is going on with the Indian healthcare system. And so how would you say that the Indian healthcare system, especially private pay, compares to here in the West? And especially when it comes to like more advanced needs, memory care, assisted living, how advanced are those facilities in India? Are there dedicated dementia facilities? Things along those lines.
Your question has two sets. One is the care part of it. One is the typical medical requirement part of it. Healthcare in India has evolved, probably is one of the best systems in the world as of now,
Okay.
both in terms of technology, expertise of Indian doctors. Probably you would know it better that Western world prefers Indian doctors. So Indian doctors have that diagnostic abilities and human angle better than again, I'm coming back to the human angle. So that's very strong in India. Uh, so, facilities wise and infrastructure wise, Indian healthcare system is as good as the West, I would say. And um, you may be surprised. There are a lot of countries, people from a lot of countries come to India for, medical treatments. And one biggest difference between the Western world and the Indian medical system is you don't have to wait to get an appointment with doctors. You can just walk in. That's the biggest advantage which India offers. And second, probably is the cost. So when you compare it with the medical treatment cost of Western world, probably it is not even one-fourth of it. So it's that kind of difference. And a lot of countries are sending their citizens to India for medical treatments. That's the kind of change which we have seen over a period of time, and how healthcare has improved in India. And now coming to the second part of it, whether India has that kind of facilities to look after dementia affected people? Do they have that expertise? Yes. So India is slowly developing facilities which can professionally look after people with dementia, memory issues. So there are memory care centers across India, as good as the West, and again with a better human angle, I would say. Yeah.
Um, so related, there was a question in the chat just about we're talking about India. Are there similar, or do you know of any similar facilities in like Latin America or Europe that also cater to Indians, and how those might potentially compare to the ones in India?
See, there are senior living communities for Indians in US as well. There are few selected Indian senior living communities in the US. But India, um, you know, by its culture, welcomes, their people back. So a lot of senior living communities in India have already begun to fine tune their services, amenities to meet the expectations of non-resident Indians. So a lot of such facilities have evolved in last few years, so that they meet the expectations and requirements of non-resident Indians.
I'm wondering which came first, because they're responding to an interest, but then there's also an increased interest in amongst NRIs in looking at there's just an increased interest in India overall when it comes to senior living, right? Whether it's more.
I would like to quote a couple of examples. I personally know a very senior doctor who migrated, I'm talking about a doctor, migrated back to India from UK, specifically for healthcare. And she's 82 currently, and she's very physically active and cognitively active. So the difference she quotes between India and the West is, senior living communities have a better resident bonding in India. That is one. And healthcare, as I mentioned, is more accessible and world class in India. So these are two reasons why she opted to come back to India. So very similar to that, I know many NRIs coming back to India for retirement purpose, specifically for these reasons. One, cost is more affordable in India. Second, healthcare is better in India. And most of us, being Indian by heart, we would like to go back to cultural, familiarity when we retire. So that's another factor. And a lot of, NRIs are also focusing on their parents who are living in India. So they would like to, dedicate a facility for their parents, or buy a property for their parents in senior living communities, so that they feel secure, and so they are not worried about the health and wellness as well as engagement of their parents. And I have also seen younger generation, young NRIs from the West, investing in a property in India for their parents. And also that's a future investment for themselves. When I retire, I'll go back to this facility post my parents. So that's another, thinking which people have.
So actually, just earlier today, there was a question in the Desi Daughters community about how to evaluate, or like what to look for in when you're exploring a senior living community. So are there, how does one get started? How do you assess credibility? What considerations are there when you're selecting a community? Is there a certain, like, one of the questions actually just now in the chat was, do you look at, in terms of location, if facilities are not in the city center, then how do you evaluate that in terms of like access to good medical care?
That's a very important question, I would say. see, while you shortlist some senior living communities for yourself or for your parents, look at the following, checklist, I would say. One, unlike the West, most of the senior living communities in India were developed by passion. So the developers had some passion that, I need to do something for the elderly community. So most of them have developed senior living communities with that thought. So any product which comes out of passion usually will be much better than the commercially developed ones. Having said that, there are few organizations in India also, which are being developed professionally as well as commercially. Whether it is a passion product or commercial product, look at the following. One, look at the kind of detailing they have done in the project. The project has to be senior friendly. So I would like to caution the audience that there are few senior living communities which don't have any senior living senior friendly features also. So there are very good ones, there are good ones, and there are bad ones. So to differentiate them, look at the senior friendly features and their long-term commitment to services, and what kind of tie-ups they have for various types of facilities. So usually senior living is more like hospitality and human care. So in addition to that, so do they have tie-up with good medical, healthcare partners?
Mhm.
What kind of support they have for resident engagement? What kind of support they have for legal requirements, what kind of support they have for financial management. So look at all this, whether the facility is sound financially, so that tomorrow there is no problem with the continuity of services. And a few other basic hygiene, like where is the location? Is the location convenient to you? India is a vast country with geographical variations and climatic variations. So if you are a typical, resident from northern part of India, and if you go to south, there will be cultural differences. Would you like it? So look at the cultural suitability for yourself or for your parents. Second, the climatic suitability. So some parts of India do have extreme variations of climate. And of course, some locations also have pollution related issues. Look at those angles also. Third, look at your requirements and match it with what is being offered by the community. So what are your service requirements? What are your amenities requirements? And where would you like to retire or live in a retirement community? So the location also is very important. And how much of importance you give to healthcare. So say healthcare sometimes is a reality, requirement is, sometimes it's a reality, sometimes it's psychological. Being next to a hospital, it may not be a requirement all the time, but at the same time, it gives a psychological comfort. So if the facility has basic medical support, so that is something which you would like to, understand whether they have it. What kind of care options they have. So say suppose I enter a senior living community, hale and hearty, but say suppose I require some amount of care down the line after 15 years. Does the facility provide that kind of care? Do they have assisted living support or care at home support? So some of the facilities may not have assisted living facilities, but they have care at home facility. So do the facility provide or the community provide that kind of support? These are basic things which you need to check. And of course, your budget.
Yeah. Um, One of the questions that you were talking about geography, one of the questions that had come in the chat was just where are the best facilities situated from a geographic standpoint? So you had mentioned some cultural components, as you're evaluating facilities in different parts of the country, but is there an area of the country that just tends to be a little bit more ahead in terms of like their overall facilities, or is it sort of individual basis? You have to evaluate it.
So there are these days there are senior living facilities across India. But having said that, there are few zones which are very strong with retirement communities.
Mhm,
I would say Delhi NCR belt has good amount of senior living communities.
mhm,
Second, I would say Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore, Chennai belt that has good amount of senior living communities. And then the Pune belt in Maharashtra, so that also has a lot of senior living facilities. And the Bangalore belt also has many senior living communities. Having said that, there are communities across India.
mhm. Um, yeah, I think is there, so when you're looking at, and we do have a list within Desi Daughters that we maintain, but it's not we kind of maintain it in terms of like list of all, different senior living options in India as well. Um, is there a go-to that you use in terms of like a list that you look at um that has a list, is there a resource that you look for that has a listing of the
Uh,
available options?
okay. So my team, geniusseniorcare.in, is a platform which gives you some basic idea about what kind of facilities are available across India. And we have a dedicated team which can help people who are looking for senior living communities across India. So
What I'll do is I'll grab that website and I'll put it into the after this session, I'll send it out along with the replay so that way everyone has that. Um, are there one of the questions in the chat was, what are the typical challenges that elders face in communities, in senior living communities that we should be aware of?
Um, that's a very important and good question, I would say. Life is a process, and we go on changing our roles throughout our lifetime. Once a student, then we, become parents, and then become grandparents. So every stage has a, lifestyle change and role modification. So when you move into a senior living community, there would be adjustment issues for some people. Few people who are very good in making friends and mingling with others and bonding with the community. For them, it's not a very big challenge. For people who are slow starters to meet people and to communicate to people, so for them, to some extent, a senior living community, moving to a senior living community, uh, adjustment or acclimatization may be an issue to begin with. Second challenge people may face is the cultural differences. So, for example, um, so you are coming from a certain culture or a certain geographical background and cultural background, moving to an entirely different location. Say, suppose I'm talking about parents. So your parents, if they are from South India, and if you opt for a community in the West, Northern India, the cultural difference may not be very easy for them to adjust. So that is another. Food becomes a very important aspect in our life. And some of the senior living communities would be very regional in their food offerings. So if you go to senior living communities in the down south, many of them would offer only the South Indian rich menu. So that can be a challenge for many people. And uh, if the care standards or care commitment of the developer is not up to the mark, that itself can be a challenge. And also, in India, since majority of the senior living communities are on sale model, invariably there is an additional challenge. There would be resident associations. They become very active, and some people become overactive in that one, which creates a different kind of problem, like activism. So that creates a different set of problems. And if the community is too far away from the city, for people, to access healthcare system can be a challenge. So these are the typical challenges I have seen in senior living communities. So yeah.
No, that makes sense. Are there in terms of, well, so I know we talked about active senior living and assisted living. Are there, well, there's some specific questions about any recommendations that you have for good assisted living facilities in Bangalore and Gujarat. Although I think our part two of the series is going to go into more specific examples. Um, and then there's questions about, do organizations provide similar services at home? Um, I guess
So
home
I will
care,
take
which
that
one?
question because that's not a very specific to location kind of question.
Mhm.
Um, so there are good home care providers in India, in major cities. Like say, suppose you need a home care attendant, you need a home care nurse in some of the major cities. So there are organizations which provide home care as well as home nursing and home medical support as well.
Yeah, no, and actually in our Desi Daughters Resource Center, we have a list of different providers who offer that. So for whoever asked the question, you can definitely check out our resource center for a list of providers as well as member recommendations. Another question. So in terms of lifestyle and services that NRIs may expect, when they find a good senior living community, what are the things that they can expect to find in a good senior living facility?
I would say there are two ingredients in that one. One is the infrastructure, and second is the services. So infrastructure wise, most of the goods senior living communities would have a world-class club, I would say, engagement center, and senior friendly apartments, and senior friendly features in apartments and common areas, and amenities and facilities developed in such a way that it can add more life to the quality of seniors' lives. And it can give opportunities for seniors to engage themselves more meaningfully. So that would include various aspects of the club, like, it could be amenities like swimming pool, card room, movie theater, so Indian senior living communities offer all this. And then services like, taking care of the housekeeping. So unlike the West, Indian senior living communities offer more services, in fact. So housekeeping inside the house, dining services, basic medical. So, so one such example is, the sponsor of today's program, Cradle of Life. So it's one such facility which offers world-class amenities as well as services. So why don't we ask this question to Sharad to, explain what they offer little in detail.
Sharad, we'll turn it over to you to share a little overview of Cradle of Life.
So first of all, thank you everyone, especially Salina for arranging this wonderful session, and Dr. Murali for such great insights. Uh, so Cradle of Life is an active living facility specially designed for individuals above 55 years of age, and the facility is under development between Pune and Mumbai, in a town called Talegaon, which is considered as the best retirement place in Maharashtra. Uh, and the concept of cradle of life has been conceptualized after a lot of study and research. And as of now, we have won like 7 awards, both national and international, for the innovation and creativity that we have brought into senior living. Uh, Talking about the homes and the living preferences, we have got studio, 1 bedroom, and 2 bedroom as the offerings. And plus, we have got something like you can customize your living preference. Uh, all these homes are smartly designed with almost zero space wastage, uh, equipped with all the necessary fittings and fixtures that makes a home senior friendly or age friendly. Uh, One more specialty about our homes is they come fully loaded, as in with all the furniture and white goods that you see. Uh, Talking about the amenities, we have got more than 60 plus amenities, which are spreaded over 32,000 square feet of space. And the categories are like, amenities for fitness and wellness. We have got sports and gaming amenities, amenities for hobbies and interest, socializing spaces, and few outdoor amenities in the landscape areas. Again, coming to the main topic, services like doctor said, fortunately in India, all the facilities are heavily serviced. So even in our case, we offer comprehensive services. Starting with as basic as the convenience service, where you have services for housekeeping inside the apartment, the meal services, the laundry services, or the concierge services, right? The safety and security is given a lot of importance in our case. Uh, when you talk about the healthcare and life care facilities, we have got a primary and preventive healthcare setup within the campus, right? And when it comes to emergencies, we have got a very strong and robust, reliable emergency management system. Um, so that's on the services part of it. Uh, we are targeting to be operational by June 26, our first hour. And if I have to talk about the pricing, the average home price is around 80 lakh rupees, which is, roughly around 90,000 US dollars. Uh, and in terms of, I mean, since most of you are NRIs, we have got many NRI customers. Many of them have bought it for their parents. NRIs in their mid 50s have bought it for their own retirement, and we have got couple of NRIs who have just invested into the unit for better rental returns. And you can actually know more about us by visiting our website, which is cradleoflife.in. And I won't take much of your time because doctor has lot many insights to share. Thank you everyone again. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharad. Yeah, we put the website into the chat as well. Well, I think we'll probably take more questions on Cradle of Life in the next session in the series. But I think, are there any other sort of general questions about senior living in India? I can look at them in the chat. I think actually there is one question here about for Dr. Murali. Since senior communities are fairly new, do you have any input or insight into whether these communities have been maintaining standards and needs in every aspect?
So, as on today, there are approximately about 150 odd senior living communities across India. I would say majority of them are at least maintaining basic standards. I would say more than 80% of them are maintaining very good standards. So what they have promised, they are maintaining it. So that's what I can say. And some communities are doing exceptionally good as well. So I would like to highlight that part also. So in my knowledge, barring a couple of senior living communities across India. All other communities are functional ever since they were established. So that's a very good sign, for anybody who is planning to retire in India, because I know what kind of challenges retirement communities across the globe has faced. A lot of senior living communities have closed, over a period of time. So luckily in India, that did not happen. And I would say one very important share I would like to do is uh, during COVID time, across the globe, senior living communities suffered a lot. And there were a lot of casualties, a lot of deaths in assisted living facilities across the world. But in India, that number is negligible.
Mhm.
And the kind of commitment and care almost every senior living community which has taken during the COVID period was unbelievably exceptional.
Mhm.
So they did it in such a way that, that's where I say the human angle is very strong and high in India. The kind of arrangement they did during COVID period is the entire staff moved inside the community and they locked themselves.
Mhm.
And, till the scare of COVID went away, they served seniors. And that was the kind of commitment senior living communities showed in India during COVID. And the casualties during that period in senior living communities was negligible across India. I'm not talking about one or two facilities, across India.
Wow.
So that's really a very heartening, and I feel proud to be associated with the senior living communities in India to say this.
Wow. I did not know that. That is really nice to hear. Um, okay, I know we're coming up to the top of the hour. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. There's a couple more here. So, Dr. Murali, general question. Is it possible in general to put cameras in rooms, or when it comes to these facilities, and where would guests live, and are there restrictions on how many people can stay in a one bedroom?
I think you are talking more about the assisted living facility. The question appears to be like that. Uh, Generally, most of the assisted living facilities, don't encourage cameras inside living rooms because that intrudes the privacy. Second concern in that one is if you, give a feeling of being monitored continuously. For seniors themselves, it's not a comfortable thing. Second, even for the caregiver who is attending, that senior, for them, they get a feeling that, my, services are questioned all the time. So I'm not trusted. So these feelings are very stronger in India. So if you trust people, they will do anything for you. So that's the difference. And third thing, I would say, as a child or as a daughter or as a son, if you install security cameras inside your parents' house, you will be under anxiety all the time because you will be tempted to look at the camera every now and then. And if they sit, if they stand, you will be with anxiety that, are they all right? So they may be simply dozing off. You may start thinking that, they are having some problem. So, I don't recommend, installing security cameras inside living rooms. But most of the assisted living facilities would have security cameras in common areas, like the corridors, like the walkways, or the dining space or recreation space. In all such spaces, they would have security cameras, and they do it for quality control. But uh, The industry rejects putting security cameras inside the living rooms for multiple reasons. And even I don't recommend it, so from all the angles, it's not good for the resident. It's not good for the caretaker. It's not good for, children themselves.
I think, yeah, no, I think that, I do hear concerns from NRIs about just, wanting to be
Sure.
up to date. And
No,
so,
there are alternatives. There are alternatives. If you are concerned about your parents who are living alone in their houses,
Mhm.
so nowadays there are a lot of home care services who take care of checking on your parents on a regular basis, and take them to the doctor's appointment. And probably if you are too much worried, move them into a senior living community. It's actually a better choice, because they will interact with more seniors, so the socialization will be better, and there will be more meaningful engagement. They will have a lot more things to do in a community than at home, existing home. And safety and security will be higher, and probably when they live more dignified, more occupied, and more socialized life, their health and wellness also will improve. So from those angles, if you're worried about their well-being, move them to a senior living community, which would be a better choice.
um, for assisted living, how many nurses do they typically have per resident? And what would a 24/7 dedicated nurse cost roughly?
So that again varies from facility to facility. So in India, um, there is a stronger caregiver to resident ratio. Usually they have it, one caregiver for 3 residents. In the West, it is one caregiver for 7 to 12 residents. So in India, it is better. And you're talking about a dedicated caretaker. So that would, if you hire from a reputed agency or a organized agency, so that would cost you anywhere between 50,000 Indian rupees for 24 hours to about 1.5 lakh. So depending upon the kind of caretaker you opt for, their experience and their qualification, all that matters.
Um, that helps. Is there a model where purchase is not required for assisted living or memory care?
Yes. Usually, purchase is not required for memory care and assisted living. So most of the assisted living and memory care facilities in India are on rental model.
Mhm.
You don't have to purchase.
Okay. Okay. So the purchase is more for active living.
That's for active living.
Gotcha.
That's for active.
Okay. And then is it possible for a senior to visit a care center on and off, like hoteling? I assume that that's for, I'm, well, I'm thinking assisted living. So in the US, there's this concept of like respite, where like if you just need like temporary care.
Yeah. I mean, see, even in India, there are daycare centers, there are respite care centers. So
Mhm.
say suppose children would like to take a holiday, for a week, and they would like to go abroad for a month or two. So assisted living centers do offer respite care as well as short-term stay options, etc.
Assisted
Those
living
things.
for short term. Okay, perfect. I think that was the question. Awesome. Um, I think we've gotten through all the questions so far. And I know we're coming up to the top of the hour. If anybody has any questions, I'm gonna put, so I think, I'll give everyone like a minute to add any other questions, but in the meantime, I do want to thank Dr. Murali for being here with us and sharing all of his great insights with our crew. I want to thank Sharad and Cradle of Life for sponsoring this session. I do want to remind everyone that we will have part 2 of this series on Friday, January 16th. And then following, once we've got this recording out, we'll email it to everybody and along with the, so you'll get a link to the recording, you'll get a reminder for the next session, and a copy of the links that we've shared so far today. And I think I'm going to end the recording and we'll switch to take maybe a couple more live questions. So with that, I'm going to just end this recording.